My wife made me get a vasectomy 99 times. Before the 100th surgery, the doctor wiped my barely anesthetized eyes with pity. That Miss Grant is torturing you. Making her husband get 99 vasectomies and reversals, his body is ruined. He can't have kids. Probably for her old flame. Heard it was her husband's brother. The wealthy are so messed up. It turned out that because of a mix-up at birth, my brother became a fake millionaire and was sent away, while I became the real young master who was supposed to be engaged to my wife. I painfully questioned my wife, Olivia Moore, about why she would marry me if she didn't love me. She said it was revenge for me taking Ryan Carter's place when I came home, which led to his drunk driving and death. Even my biological parents knew that my wife was poisoning me, but they remained indifferent. Instead, they preserved my dead brother's DNA to create embryos, intending to raise him to inherit the family fortune. In despair, I vomited blood and jumped into the sea. When I woke up again, I was back on the first day of being recognized by my family. Facing the reluctance my parents and wife showed towards my brother, I chose to let them have their way this time. You're saying you want to leave? My parents looked at me in astonishment as I calmly stated my intention to leave. Their eyes were full of shock. After all, today was my first official day back with the Carter family. But they didn't know that I had been reborn and was ready to let go of the unloved version of myself. Yes, I've already booked a ticket to study abroad. The visa just needs a few more days. Are you so intolerant of your brother staying in this house? Before I could finish, my mother interrupted me impatiently. In their eyes, I was throwing a tantrum about Ryan Carter not being a biological Carter family member but still staying in the Carter family mansion. Seeming to realize that her tone was too harsh, my mother softened her expression and said, "Ethan, you should know that even if your brother isn't our biological child, he's been in the Carter family for so many years. Can't you be more accommodating?" Her words were biased towards Ryan Carter. It was the same in my past life. Ryan Carter always provoked me, but my parents always protected him, intentionally or unintentionally. It wasn't until Ryan Carter stabbed me with a knife, nearly hitting a vital point, that my parents reluctantly forced him to move out of the Carter family mansion and into a luxury apartment specially arranged for him to reflect. They called it reflection, but it was just a show for me, hoping I wouldn't pursue the matter of him attacking me with a knife. But I didn't expect him to get drunk and drive, resulting in a car accident. His body was torn to pieces. After that, they blamed me. They believed that I was the main reason for his death. They never smiled at me again and forced me to visit Ryan Carter's grave and leave flowers every Remembrance Day. Later, they coldly tolerated my wife's abuse and torture until my body and mind were exhausted, and I jumped into the sea in despair. In that case, it's even more reason for me to leave and for Ryan Carter to stay. I was too lazy to listen to my parents' seemingly conciliatory but actually biased words. Right now, Ryan Carter hadn't been driven away and was still alive and well. If that was the case, I would just withdraw. After all, they were the real family, weren't they? I gave a self-deprecating smile, then stopped talking, turned around, and went upstairs to pack my few belongings. But when I came downstairs with my suitcase, I saw my wife, Olivia Moore, the heiress of the Grant family, sitting on the sofa. She should still be on vacation abroad. Ethan, after you marry Olivia, don't be childish anymore. Be sensible, okay? Seeing me coming downstairs with a suitcase, my mother's expression turned ugly. But Olivia Moore's face was even uglier. The moment she saw me, her pupils contracted. She stood up abruptly and slapped me hard. Her sharp nails scratched my face, causing a numb, stinging sensation. "How dare you come back to the Carter family, Ethan Carter? How can you be so shameless?" she shouted hoarsely, looking at me as if I were her greatest enemy. Her slap was heavy, but I didn't dodge. Such insulting gestures had become commonplace in our married life. And I was absolutely certain that my wife, Olivia Moore, had also been reborn. My parents were shocked by Olivia Moore's actions and wanted to stop her, but her next words made them freeze in place. "You weren't satisfied with killing Ryan Carter, now you want to continue clinging to the Carter family? Do you think I really wouldn't dare to kill you?" Her eyes were red, and she seemed deranged. In my past life, she was always like this when she was drunk or when she thought of Ryan Carter. She would question me about why I came back and why I was alive. Then she would abuse and torture me, even forcing me onto the cold operating table 99 times. She made me look forward to having a child of my own, only to reveal that she had conceived a child with Ryan Carter's frozen sperm. Ethan, is this true? Will you really kill Ryan Carter in the future? 'Cause his unnatural death? My parents looked at me in shock and anger. Don't you have even a shred of trust in me? Looking at their expressions, even though I had prepared myself for the fact that they didn't love me, I still felt a twinge of pain in my heart. I never wanted to harm Ryan Carter. But because of his death, I was unjustly nailed to the cross for the rest of my life. Noticing my choked up tone, my parents' eyes began to flicker. But the next moment, a figure spoke from the corner. It's true. Brother really did kill me. Ryan Carter. The moment Olivia Moore saw him, she embraced him like a moth to a flame. Then the two kissed passionately and wantonly, oblivious to the fact I, her rightful fiancé, was standing to the side. Ryan Carter, you're back too? I knew you couldn't bear to leave me, to leave our child. There seemed to be tears in Olivia Moore's eyes, and Ryan Carter tenderly wiped them away for her. Olivia, are you pregnant? I didn't know. I've just been having strange dreams lately. In my dreams, my brother was jealous of my love for you, so he not only forced me to leave you and our parents but also bribed someone to tamper with my car, causing me to die in a car accident. That way, he could have the family fortune and you. But it hurt so much. It really hurt. His eyes were melancholic and gentle, but his words were the best evidence to condemn me to death. You unfilial son. The next second after Ryan Carter finished speaking, my father's slap landed on my face. After the crisp sound, even the taste in my mouth was the bitter taste of iron rust. What's wrong with your brother that you have to treat him like this? If we hadn't taken you back and given you food and clothing, you'd still be a handyman at St. Mary's Orphanage. You ingrate. My mother cursed at me hatefully. She didn't remember that I was their biological son who had been lost for more than a decade. I know my brother doesn't like me and resents me for taking his place for so many years, but I never wanted to be the young master of the Carter family. I just wanted to be with Olivia and occasionally come back to be with Mom and Dad. If my brother still can't tolerate me, I'll just leave. Ryan Carter said dejectedly and turned to leave, but Olivia Moore grabbed his wrist. Don't say that. The one who should leave is never you. As the future heir of the Moore Corporation, if the marriage arrangement with the Grant family isn't with Ryan Carter, then the Carter family shouldn't expect to receive a single penny of investment from the Grant family in the future. Olivia Moore said decisively. Having been reborn, she wanted to give everything to our Yen Carter, whom she had lost and regained. But I remembered our wedding. At that time, she told me that our union was because she loved me. In the future, we would have several cute and sensible children, one with the Grant surname and one with the Carter surname. But she needed to stabilize the company and couldn't get pregnant and be distracted. So for her sake, I was willing to force myself into circles I never liked. I was willing to undergo surgeries that harmed my body again and again because of her fickleness. Like a butterfly falling into a gentle honey trap, its wings were bound, and it could only sink helplessly in the end. Ethan Carter, hurry up and apologize to Ryan Carter. If you sincerely repent and vow never to target him again, we can let you stay. But you can't live in the Carter family mansion anymore. You'll have to move out. My parents spoke as if they were giving me a chance. But I found it ridiculous. I hadn't done anything wrong from beginning to end, yet I had to apologize to Ryan Carter, who had framed me. I'm not wrong. I replied word by word. Seeming to be angered by my words, my parents lost their patience and said fiercely, since you want to leave, then leave all the Carter family's belongings behind. Aren't the clothes on your body bought with the Carter family's money? Take them off. I curled my lips in self-deprecation. Then, without a word, I began to take off my clothes. It was the dead of winter, and the doors were wide open. The whistling cold wind brought a chill. Soon my bare skin was frozen blue and purple, but it couldn't compare to the pain in my heart. I took off everything except my underwear, threw the clothes on the ground, and turned to leave. Brother, what's in the suitcase? Ryan Carter reminded me, seemingly unintentionally, which reminded my parents, who were in a rage. Open the suitcase. You can't take anything from the Carter family. Since you don't want to be our son and don't want to be the young Ma stir of the Carter family, then go back to being a penniless stray dog orphan. At their command, the servants immediately snatched the suitcase from my hand. Perhaps sensing my loss of power, their movements were very rough. The suitcase was violently opened, and some old clothes were thrown everywhere. Among them, 2 well-preserved photo frames fell out. One was an engagement photo of me and Olivia Moore. The other was a black and white portrait of Sister Mary, the head of the St. Mary's orphanage who had raised me. She was the only person who had ever been good to me, and this was the last photo she had left in the world. But before I could react, Ryan Carter quickly stepped on it. His expensive custom-tailored shoes heavily pressed on the fragile glass frame, making a crisp crack sound. No! No! I lunged forward, trying to snatch the photo from under Ryan Carter's foot, but he stepped on my fingers as well. Fragments of glass pierced my fingertips, and blood flowed freely, but I couldn't care less. I pulled back my hand, which was full of cuts, and pushed Ryan Carter hard. Only then did I manage to retrieve the photo from under his foot. But the photo had been crushed and was covered in dirty dust. Seeing me push Ryan Carter, causing him to stagger back several steps, my father roared, "You rebellious son, how dare you push Ryan Carter? You know he's been weak since he was a child. Get out! Get out! From now on, we're severing ties with you. Just pretend that the Carter family never raised a bastard like you." They were concerned about Ryan Carter's safety but didn't see that my hand was also bleeding. Only Olivia Moore saw the injury on my hand and frowned slightly. Not only that, but I only picked up Sister Mary's photo and carefully wiped it clean, without looking at the engagement photo of her and me that had also fallen on the ground. Carefully putting away the frameless photo, I took one last look at the family and lover I had wholeheartedly loved in my past life. The Carter family didn't raise me. The St. Mary's orphanage you despise raised me. Since you can't bear to part with Ryan Carter, then just pretend I never came back. From now on, we're strangers forever. After saying that, I turned and left resolutely. Alone, with nothing but wounds and pain. It wasn't until my figure had truly disappeared from everyone's sight that they realized that I had really left. And I took nothing with me except a photo. Big Brother is too immature. What good will he get from being so stubborn and capricious? Even if he goes back to that St. Mary's orphanage, he'll be evicted in a few years because of demolition. What's the point? But in the end, it's all because of me. I shouldn't have stayed in the house. Ryan Carter sighed, seemingly speaking up for me. In reality, he was planting seeds of doubt, telling my parents that I was just throwing a tantrum. In the end, he even retreated, saying that he wanted to leave. As expected, my parents quickly comforted him, saying that it had nothing to do with him. But Olivia Moore suddenly raised her head. "How do you know that the St. Mary's orphanage will be demolished in a few years?" Her gaze was sharp. The demolition of the St. Mary's orphanage wasn't confirmed until after Ryan Carter's death in her past life. How could Ryan Carter know about it now? Seeming to realize his mistake, Ryan Carter's expression panicked as he tried to explain. But once the seeds of doubt were planted, they were hard to remove. Since she could be reborn, was it possible that Ryan Carter was too, and was he hiding something important? A suspicion arose in Olivia Moore's heart, and her gaze towards Ryan Carter was no longer as passionate. What if Ryan Carter hadn't actually died in her past life? What had she been doing all these years? Olivia Moore's throat tightened, and she rushed out of the Carter family mansion. But she couldn't find that familiar figure anymore. Snow was falling lightly in the sky, as if sighing at this absurd drama. "Olivia, I misspoke just now. It's snowing. Let's go back, and we can also discuss the marriage arrangement again with Mom and Dad." Ryan Carter smiled and reached out to put his arm around Olivia Moore's shoulders, but she dodged him without a trace. "Ryan Carter, did you really just have those dreams?" Olivia Moore's eyes stared at him, as if she didn't want to miss a single expression. Ryan Carter's expression turned ugly. "Olivia, have you fallen in love with Ethan Carter? In that dream, I only saw the demolition of the St. Mary's orphanage after I died, and I also saw you marrying him. But now that he's gone, aren't we the golden couple that everyone supports?" Ryan Carter grabbed Olivia Moore's shoulders and roared loudly. He couldn't accept the possibility that Olivia Moore, whom he had grown up with, had transferred her affections, especially to me, the real young master of the Carter family. After hearing Ryan Carter's explanation, Olivia Moore barely managed to suppress her doubts. But a report sent by her subordinates 3 days later made her completely lose hope. It clearly stated that Ryan Carter himself had bribed someone to tamper with his car. He had also arranged for a fake corpse and a fake identity, preparing to replace that fake identity and continue living after the accident. But now, because of my early departure, all of this hadn't been put to use yet. Olivia Moore didn't expect that she would uncover the most hidden truth of her past life just by suspiciously asking someone to investigate Ryan Carter. In her past life, because of his death, I was despised by my parents and hated by my wife. Ryan Carter only needed to hide behind the scenes and watch me be tortured to death. He even had Olivia Moore's eternal remembrance and her willingness to use frozen sperm to bear a child for him. This also meant that once I died, the Carter family and the Grant family would all be his. When Olivia Moore angrily threw the evidence in front of Ryan Carter's parents, they were stunned. "Ryan Carter, is this true? Why did you do this?" Mrs. Carter looked at Ryan Carter in disbelief. Ryan Carter's face turned pale. "Olivia, you secretly had people investigate me. In your heart, am I no longer as important as Ethan Carter?" His eyes were panicked, but more than that, he was guilty. Seeing that he was still trying to argue, Olivia Moore completely lost her patience. She took out the evidence of Ryan Carter's frantic selling of land and speculating in stocks these days. He had made these moves based on his memories from his past life. If he didn't have the memories of his past life, no one would believe it. "In our past life, you faked your death, making us believe that Ethan had killed you, making us hate him to the core. Now, you've deliberately driven him away, Ryan Carter. He suffered for you for more than a decade. Do you have any conscience?" Olivia Moore slammed the evidence on Ryan Carter's face, and the corner of the folder grazed his forehead. But he didn't shout in pain. Instead, he knelt down in front of Mr. and Mrs. Carter and Olivia Moore with a thump. "Mom and Dad, Olivia. I was just confused for a moment. I just wanted your love too much. Ever since Big Brother came back, you've all been protecting him, But before he could finish his pitiful words, Mrs. Carter slapped him hard on the face. Mrs. Carter cried and lunged at him, tearing at him. "We protect him? Ryan Carter, do you know what you're saying? We've spoiled you since you were little. Even after finding Ethan, we still treated you like our own biological child. But why did you frame him like this, making us misunderstand him? That's my biological child." Mrs. Carter cried out in pain. The thought of that day, when it was snowing heavily and I was driven out of the Carter family naked, made her heart ache like a needle. She and Mr. Carter didn't not love me, no matter what. I was a piece of flesh that had fallen from her body. It was just that she had been blinded by anger at the time, and Ryan Carter had deliberately incited her. When she came back to her senses and wanted to look for me, I was already gone. "It's because he's biological, and I'm not. So I'm destined to be inferior to him?" Ryan Carter shouted angrily. At this time, he was finally willing to reveal the ugly side that he had always hidden in his heart. From the moment I was confirmed to be the Carter family's real child, he believed that his life had been ruined. Without the title of young master of the Carter family and without the wealth of being the Grant family's trust fund baby, he lost everything overnight. So he was unwilling, he was dissatisfied. He wanted to take revenge on me, the sinner who had disrupted his peaceful and happy life. And in his past life, his plan was undoubtedly extremely successful. He watched his parents grieve over his death and then vent all their emotions on me. Every year on the Remembrance Day, when I was forced to visit his grave and leave flowers, it was his happiest moment. And his lover, Olivia Moore, did even better, not only giving birth to a child for him but also poisoning me, preventing me from ever having my own children. "You bastard!" Olivia Moore could no longer control herself and slapped Ryan Carter hard. She didn't expect to be so thoroughly used by her former childhood sweetheart. Thinking of the foolish things she had done in her past life and the excessive and cruel things she had done to me, she felt a sharp pain in her heart. At that time, I had entered into marriage with her full of joy, but I didn't expect that it was all her revenge from beginning to end. She neglected me, ridiculed me. She even used my love for children to torture me repeatedly. In fact, we had accidentally had a child once. But at that time, because she hated me, she had cruelly aborted the 3-month-old baby. and she couldn't deny th. And she hadn't been moved even a little during those days of marriage. She could only convince herself countless times that she loved Ryan Carter. What was more deadly than a white moonlight was a dead white moonlight. But she didn't expect that Ryan Carter would deceive her and deceive everyone. He used his fake death to take the most heinous revenge on me. There was no doubt that Ryan Carter was kicked out of the Carter family. At first, he cried and begged, trying to evoke the pity and love of Mr. and Mrs. Carter. But seeing that they didn't react and were only busy inquiring about my whereabouts, he couldn't hold back anymore. He stayed at the gate of the Carter family, cursing and cursing everyone, demanding that Mr. and Mrs. Carter transfer the family's property and equity to him. He even harassed Olivia Moore at the Moore Corporation every day, and was finally dragged out by security and severely beaten before stopping. But Olivia Moore's revenge on him didn't stop there. Ryan Carter was kicked out of the Carter family penniless. He had been a young master who had been waited on hand and foot all his life, but now he didn't even have money to buy a fast food meal. The Carter family parents had completely lost heart with him and no longer cared about him, and even no longer admitted that he was a member of the Carter family. And at this time, Olivia Moore had people lure Ryan Carter into gambling addiction. Or maybe he had always loved to gamble, but someone had paid for him at the time. Even losing a few million wasn't a big deal for the Carter family. But now, after even his left hand was used as a chip, Ryan Carter suddenly woke up in shock. But it was too late. He was being hunted down by people from the casino, without money or power, and didn't even know where his next meal was coming from. He had tried to beg Olivia Moore. But he also knew Olivia Moore's personality very well. She couldn't tolerate deception and betrayal. Love brings life, hate brings death. So he got nothing but a beating, and only then did he know what it meant to be a stray dog. At the same time, the Carter family and Olivia Moore were searching for my whereabouts all over the world. But even though they had searched almost every country around, they couldn't find a single piece of news about me. It wasn't until a gala 3 years later that they finally saw me. At that time, I was wearing a custom-tailored suit, with a gentle expression, and I was holding the slender, white hand of a woman in my arm. "Ethan, is that really you? It's really you." The moment Olivia Moore saw me, tears welled up in her eyes. She had never known what despair was before. But in the 3 years after I left, she had searched over 200 countries alone. Pulling our former engagement photo, she asked passers-by one by one if they had seen me, seen her husband. Hope after hope, and despair after despair. She was afraid that I would do something stupid, and even more afraid that I would disappear from her life forever. It wasn't until now that she finally understood that she loved me. It was just that this love had been obscured by hatred and misunderstanding for too long, and when she saw it clearly, it was too late. "Ethan, my child, you're finally willing to come back and see us." Hearing the commotion, Mr. and Mrs. Carter, who had also come to the gala, rushed over. Mrs. Carter grabbed my hand, trembling with excitement. But I subconsciously shook it off, unwilling to have any physical contact with her. "Madam, I don't think we have any relationship anymore. Please respect yourself." My eyes were cold, and I looked at them as if I were looking at strangers. Seeming to be stung by my gaze, Mrs. Carter's eyes suddenly turned red. "Child, I know it's all our fault, but you've been missing for 3 years. Can't you give us a chance to make amends? A chance to make amends?" At this time, Grace Lynn, who was next to me, suddenly spoke. "As Ethan Carter's biological parents, you believed an outsider more than you believed your own child, and you kept misunderstanding him and being harsh to him. Now that you've severed ties, why are you pretending here?" Her words were very rude, leaving Mr. and Mrs. Carter speechless and ashamed. But Olivia Moore looked at her intimately and familiarly, holding my arm, and felt particularly jarring. "Who are you? It's not your place to interfere in our affairs with Ethan," she questioned, looking at Grace Lynn with hostility and a panic and jealousy that she hadn't even noticed herself. I pulled Grace Lynn behind me, protectively, and said, "Let me introduce you. This is my advisor's daughter and my fiancée, Grace Lynn." "Fiancée?" Olivia Moore's face suddenly turned pale. She could hardly believe what she was hearing. "Ethan, you're still angry, aren't you? You're still angry with me, so you deliberately found a woman like this to anger me. But I really know I was wrong. Ryan Carter's plot has been exposed by me, and he's living a life worse than death now. There are no obstacles between us anymore." As she spoke, Olivia Moore reached out to grab my hand in a panic. "But the person I hate the most is you." My words successfully made the woman's hand freeze in place. "Have you forgotten everything you did to me?" I asked, looking calmly into Olivia Moore's eyes. "The painful memories I never want to relive, you inflicted them all. Now, at the lowest point in my life, Grace Lynn is by my side. She is the one I truly love." Hearing my words, Olivia Moore was already in tears. She rarely cried. As the heir to the Grant family, only Ryan Carter, who had grown up with her, could make her care so much. But now, in front of everyone, she bent her back before me. "Ethan Carter, I know you can't forgive the harm I caused you in the past, but what happened between us was a misunderstanding. I know you didn't kill Ryan Carter, he framed you. We were in love, weren't we? IKN. Oh, you love me too, right?" She stubbornly wanted an answer from me, but she was destined to be disappointed. "I really did love you once. Even though I knew you could never forget Ryan Carter, I thought if you were willing to marry me, I would be willing to wait. But until my death, I finally understood that some things are not meant to be waited for, like waiting for a train that will never arrive at the airport." Olivia Moore's tears finally fell. She remembered how good I had been to her after our marriage in our past life. Her stomach became diseased from too many business dinners, and I would buy the freshest ingredients every day to make soup for her. But she often didn't appreciate it and would pour it out directly in front of me. I would pick her up from work every day, rain or shine, but she would deliberately leave me alone in the heavy rain, causing me to catch a severe cold. There was no doubt that I loved her deeply, but compared to me, her love was so insignificant. As for Ryan Carter, if you had even a little trust and love for me, you wouldn't have convicted me so easily. Do you know? In my past life, I really thought it was all my fault that I ended up crippled and with nothing. Everyone blamed me, and no one knew what I was feeling inside. My family and loved ones hated me without reservation because of another person, which made me lose all will to live at the time. Especially knowing that my wife had me deliberately put on the operating table 99 times, to the point where my body was damaged. There was no choice but to have it removed. And this was the biggest pain buried in my heart. Now that I've been reborn, I'm no longer willing to repeat the same mistakes. After saying what was on my mind, I was about to turn and leave with Grace Lynn. After studying abroad for 3 years, I not only found sincere love, but also achieved great success in my field of expertise, biological research. Now my wealth is not much less than that of the Cart or in Grant families. But before I could take 2 steps, I heard several heavy thuds behind me. I turned around and saw Mr. Carter, Mrs. Carter, and Olivia Moore kneeling in front of me. "Ethan Carter, all the mistakes are ours. Please forgive Olivia Moore. She has almost worn out a pair of legs looking for you these past 3 years. I know you hate us and can't forgive us, but we are family, after all." "Do you really not want the Carter family? Do you really not want us?" Mrs. Carter's eyes were filled with tears. It was clear that she had not been doing well in the past 3 years. Her once well-maintained and smooth skin had fine wrinkles, and her hair had turned white. Ryan Carter had been kicked out by them, and if I was unwilling to go back, they would really have no one to rely on. Even now, they were unwilling to believe that I really didn't care about going back to the Carter family. They thought I was just holding a grudge. "Have you suddenly forgotten?" I brushed their hands away. "You were the ones who didn't want me first." Ignoring the expressions of despair on their faces, I put my arm around Grace Lynn and strode away, leaving behind their pleas and cries. After that gala, not long after, I heard that the Carter family chairman and his wife had been hospitalized due to the shock. At the same time, the Carter family's stock price plummeted. Everyone knew that they had mistaken a fisheye for a pearl and had forced their own son to leave home for an adopted son. After Grace Lynn's persuasion, I finally went to the hospital to see them one last time. The Carter family chairman is in very bad condition and is still unconscious. Mrs. Carter, on the other hand, has early signs of Alzheimer's and doesn't recognize people very well anymore. She just keeps mumbling about looking for her son. The Carter family's lawyer sighed and handed me the will. This is the will that the Carter family chairman made while he was still somewhat conscious. It states that all of the Carter family's assets are left to you alone. After all, you are their only child. I took the document and flipped through it, then looked at the scene in the ward. My heart was filled with mixed feelings. Rationally, I couldn't forgive them. But after all, they were my biological parents, and all I could do was hire someone to take care of them in their old age. But I didn't expect that at the entrance of the hospital, I would run into Ryan Carter begging for money. He was covered in dirt and was eating a piece of bread given to him by a passerby without looking up. Even more noticeable was that he had lost both his hands and feet. The empty pant legs and sleeves let passers-by know that he was a pitiful man, and they couldn't help but give him some change. He was also extremely grateful and bowed his head to thank them. Until he saw me standing aside in a custom-tailored suit. You actually came back. Ryan Carter, his face twisted with rage, moved his wheelchair towards me. If I didn't come back, how could I see you in this state? I raised an eyebrow. I wasn't surprised that Ryan Carter had ended up like this, because the evidence that Olivia Moore had found, including his subsequent debt collection, had a lot to do with my actions. I was a very vindictive person. Ryan Carter had harmed me so much in my past life, and there was no way I could let him go. It's you! It was you all along! Ryan Carter almost pounced on me to devour me alive. But now he was in a sorry state, and he had even lost a pair of hands and feet. He could only bark like a dog. But killing someone also requires destroying their spirit. Just like what he did to me in my past life, I thoughtfully told him about the will Mr. Carter gave me, about how I had rejected Olivia Moore, and about how I was about to marry my new wife. Now I was successful and famous, while he lived like a maggot in the gutter. Clearly, if he hadn't maliciously targeted me, the Carter family I would have been so heartless to him, but he was just too greedy. But even now, Ryan Carter still didn't think he had done anything wrong. I won against you. I won against you in my past life. Ryan Carter roared, pounding the ground. He didn't understand why he was reborn, only to witness his complete defeat. He was so close to succeeding. But no one could answer his question, and the people around him looked at him like he was crazy. In the end, he really did go a little crazy. He cried and laughed as he kept stuffing the bread that had fallen on the ground into his mouth, even though it was covered in dirt. Finally, passers-by couldn't stand it anymore and called the police, and he was forcibly taken away by the authorities. What awaited him was a lifetime of loneliness in a mental hospital. After everything settled down, the date of my wedding with Gracelyn was also set. My mentor, who had helped me so much, even took a private jet to attend the wedding. But in the dressing room, as I watched my wife gently closing her eyes and letting the makeup artist apply makeup, I received an email. I opened it, and inside was an ocean view picture. There was also Olivia Moore's suicide note. Ethan Carter, by the time you see this letter, I think I will no longer be in this world. Many times, I have wondered why fate is so fickle. When you loved me wholeheartedly, I couldn't see my own heart clearly. Now that you have left, heartbroken by me, I find that I can't accept a life without you. I guess you must think it's ridiculous for me to say this now. But my love, I am willing to use my life to prove my love for you. Or rather, I am repaying my unforgivable sins. I only wish you a long and happy life, peace and prosperity, and a lifetime without worries. A few words were all that was left of Olivia Moore's life. A tear fell unconsciously from the corner of my eye, landing on the darkened screen of my phone, splashing into a teardrop. Honey? What's wrong? Gracelyn, not far away, leaned over and asked curiously. She was wearing a pure white wedding dress, and the wide skirt made her look like a princess. Then she smiled gently and touched her lower abdomen. She was more than a month pregnant. This was a sudden surprise and the greatest gift of my life. It's nothing. I put away my phone. It's just a wedding blessing from a friend. I smiled, walked over, kissed her warm cheek, and then picked her up and walked step by step into the grand and noisy hall. The end.